The time is finally here. Ding, motherfucking ding. The bell has been rung.
The
It's
red
Snyder
capes are
Cut
coming.
time.
The
Red capes are coming. The red capes are coming.
There's none of
Okay, he
that in
didn't
this
sound-
movie.
He didn't sound like a little girl. But y'all, it's finally here. It's Snyder Cut discussion time. We literally watched this movie maybe 4 hours ago. We just finished it. It was
Time
nothing.
doesn't
I'm
feel
not gonna
real.
say even anything until I introduce us. Hey, it's Bailey, and this is Press Play Again. With me, as always, is Omar Zaki and Matthew Austin.
This is one of those episodes that you would just think would have never existed. It's like an alternate reality episode. Like, holy shit, we're about to
This does
we're
feel
about
like
to
an
talk
alternate
about the
reality.
Snyder Cut, guys. Take a step back and just think about that for a second. The butt of every joke for the last 3 years, the Snyder Cut. 2 years ago, I remember why is Zack Snyder
2
posting
years
a
ago,
film
it was a
reel?
conspiracy theory.
Why is Zack Snyder posting a film reel on Vero right now? What is up with this shit? And look where we are now.
Freaking Vero.
Look at this. Apparently it's Vero. Tyler told me that yesterday. I was like, oh, interesting.
Vero. Well,
Yeah,
either way,
Vero.
no one's using it. So,
Except
but if
him.
you are out there, shout out to you, I guess. But hey, it's us. We're back, and we're here to talk with all of you about this. I have so much to say. It's been so awful trying to hold this in for the last like 3 hours. I've had to wait till we recorded this, but we're finally here. We're finally doing this. If you can't tell, I'm really fucking pumped. So I'm ready to
Let's
talk
go.
about this. But before we get to that, I'm gonna get all this mishigosh out the way.
Whoa. That's a great word. That's a
I've never
good
heard that,
one.
but I
No,
like
both.
her vibe for it.
Whoa.
There's a 50% chance you just made that word up, but
Maybe not. Who knows? I'm gonna coin it. TM at the end, you know? But if you want to follow us on any social medias, you can except for Facebook. And that would be at Again Press on Twitter and at Press Play Again on Instagram. And we've been posting fun stuff. So follow us on that. And if you want to listen to us instead of watching us, which I don't recommend because watch us. Look how beautiful we all are. But you can listen to us on Spotify, Breaker, Google Podcasts, Radio Public. I almost lost that one. And Apple Podcasts, which is extremely important because you can leave us 5 stars and a review if you want to, but also please do. We're coming at you hot also. I'm letting you know now. Tuesdays, we're starting the Falcon and Winter Soldier discussion stuff. We're going to be talking it all. We're going to be talking this first episode. We're super looking forward to it. It's coming out hot on Friday. So we're going to be there Tuesday, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. You can listen and comment and like us and do all that jazz, you know? But I'm done. I'm done talking about this because I want to talk about everything else that's important. So I think I hit it all.
everything's coming in hot. That's the gist.
That's coming in hot. So honestly, before we start talking about this massive ass movie, let's get our first reactions to it, you know? Because this is a finally we're doing a movie that we can legit be like, this is our first opinions on watching this for the first time ever. The world's with us on this. How do we feel about this movie? So I'm starting with our DC guru, Omar Zaki.
Hey, what's up, guys? Here with my first reaction. Okay, what a movie! Fucking crazy. Honestly, I still haven't really digested it. To be honest with you, it was just a lot to take in.
digest.
Very,
lot to
a lot to
digest.
take in. I haven't stopped thinking about it in a good way, but I haven't reached a conclusion of how I truly felt about it. I think I need to watch it again, and I think when I
Understandable.
do, I'm gonna watch it in parts, like part 1, part 2, whatever, you know. Try it that way and see if maybe it's a lot easier to digest then. Um, I really don't know what to say. I'm gonna be honest with you because I loved it, but so okay, it met my expectations, but for some reason I feel underwhelmed. And
Okay.
we're gonna talk about that, yeah, later in discussion. But it's just like it's an uneasy feeling because I don't know like how I feel just yet.
No,
And I think
that's
it's
a good
just
way
because
to
I
put it.
just watched a 4-hour movie. And I don't think any movie should ever be 4 hours. But if there is gonna be a movie that's 4 hours, this is definitely the one. So
I
that's
get
my
that. I get
reaction.
that.
Yeah.
That was very well done. Applause for little ohms.
Thank you.
Okay, so how do you feel about it, Matt?
I first want to compliment the light behind Omar. It looks like he's in heaven right now.
He's
It's
the
really
angel
nice.
among us.
This movie killed me.
Okay, my initial thoughts. Wow, what a loaded question when it comes to this movie. I like I said at the start, I can't believe that we're talking about this right now. I still just can't believe this movie got made. I can't believe we finally have the actual sequel to BVS that's what it's supposed to be. And God, did it feel like that? Like it felt like what was meant to happen after. It's
Mhm.
largely the same story, which I'm kind of on the fence of. I feel like I expected that, but I also had as low as my hype was for this, just because I was trying to keep expectations normal. I feel like I still had certain expectations of crazy things that were going to happen. Um, and I think that's where I kind of feel a little disappointed is that some of those wild theories I don't really think happened, or just the wild deviations from the standard plot of what Justice League 2017 was. You know, it largely is that movie, but with so much added context, so much more character development. Like things in that movie that either didn't make sense, seemed stupid, or both are just, all of it's gone to me. Like all of that story now makes sense. These characters like Flash and Cyborg in particular that we haven't gotten standalone movies for yet. They had like awesome moments. They had awesome backstories that were set up
Oh yeah.
really well for as much as time as they could give them. Namely, Cyborg like feels like a completely different character now that we know everything about him. I mean, we're gonna get into it, but like Jesus Christ, we didn't know half of what that man went through, and yeah, the team, the whole, like in our 2017 review, what I've complained so much about how this felt like this forced team, these people that were just like had to be at work together and barely knew each other. The chemistry was so much more there. It wasn't exactly what like it didn't hit all the way of what I wanted, but the awkwardness and the weirdness I think was gone. It was much more realistic for these people that were getting together to like band together and save the earth from, this existential threat that's coming. Like it felt more realistic. It felt more fun in that sense, which is weird because they tried to make the other one fun. It's like
Mhm.
this worked in it. And I have a million other things to say that are going to go along with our conversation, but overall, I loved the movie for what it is. I had some unrealistic expectations and some things that disappoint me for sure that we'll get to. But overall, I'm so excited this movie exists. I'm so happy for Zack Snyder right now, and I can't wait to talk about it with you guys because oh boy, there's a
Sweet,
lot.
sweet, sweet. Okay. I'm going to shock the world right now, and I'm going to make a statement. And it's going to be a shocking one coming from me because I feel like I'm the biggest hater most of the time on some of these movies. Bailey Passero of New Orleans, loved Zack Snyder's Justice League. Loved
God,
it
where are
point
we?
I
blank.
Where
figured.
are we right now?
Yeah.
Like point blank, no underlying, like nothing was there for me. I like fell in love with this movie. There is so much that I guess because, and these two guys know, but I have been on this binge of just watching as much DC Justice League animated anything that's been out, like has ever come out. I've been watching it nonstop with all of this coming out and the fact that I've been unemployed. But like the fact that I've had all this time, I've been watching it all, and oh my God, Zack Snyder very clearly loves all of the stuff that happens in those movies and those shows. Like he clearly does his homework, either that or he's just loved it for this long and wanted to create that for us. And so say if you look at this, like if you love Young Justice and any of the movies affiliated or surrounding like that type of story or the original Justice League animated show, like all of that, I saw so much in this movie, and I adored it because of that, and I don't think I would have gotten that much out of it if I hadn't have seen that stuff before, but now that I have, and I'm so thankful that I did before I watched this movie, I appreciate so much more what he's doing with some of these characters and what he's building. There's so many things like hated Batman and the other Justice League in 2017, but this Batman I was all fucking for. I like loved
It's a
what they
lot
did
better.
with him. Loved what they did with him in this. They made the villain like all of us know that the villain was probably the weakest point. Not even. There was a lot of weak points on the other one, but the villain was also a weak point, which shouldn't be. They made Steppenwolf like actually scary. Like cuz you weren't scared of him, but now you're like,
Right.
"Oh no, like he's pretty creepy and like very strong and powerful." And I don't know. I could go on this. I am going to go on about this forever, but at the end of the day, I see what his vision was finally, and I'm so grateful that we finally get to see how this was going to play out. Unfortunately, we might not see any more of how it's going to be played out, but at least we got somewhat of a conclusion to how they got together. And I think the team up was perfect. I get what you were saying, Matt, about how like you think it didn't like totally reach that for you, but I actually think it hit it perfectly because DC, it's like you can't, it's your mind automatically compares it to any MCU or Marvel or Avenger type cast, and they work so well together and they
And
have
it,
such great chemistry.
yeah.
But this, it's like it hits that, but it's also just different. They're dealing with very different things. So I don't know. I think it did so much for me. And granted, I'm one of those people that when I watch something, I get really, really hype on it, like right after I see it. But I just, with all the DC I've been consuming, I adored this. So that is my first
Yes.
impression.
I love it.
So,
I'm so glad.
I know.
I was gonna say you probably had that connection too, just because of everything you've been watching recently. So you have more of a connection with it, more of a background. Whereas Matthew probably hasn't seen like Young Justice or Justice League, whatever.
Right.
So these
Yeah.
characters, he not. I'm not gonna say not that he knows less about, but he
Hmm.
hasn't actually seen him interact as much.
Also, for me, my experience with DC, like I love Batman. Batman's like one of my favorite characters of all time, but most of the content that I know Batman for is more of like the Batman contained stories. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I
Yeah.
have very little knowledge on the like overarching DC,
Mhm.
like the
Oh, and
universal
I do
stuff.
too.
The you know what I mean? Like when you get all the characters involved, when you get these like otherworldly threats coming in and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
And
I
I
know
like
just a
in
lot
no
less.
way am saying I know like anything about DC. I just watching all of
Bailey's
that
the expert.
before I watched this, it just made me give a shit way more about
yeah,
some of these
absolutely.
characters. Like I am thankful to Joss Whedon and the fact that his like take of Justice League was so bad that it made me want to watch other Justice League things to be like people should like this for a reason, right? Like people like Justice League, so there's got to be a reason. And so I started doing that on purpose to get myself to like it, and it was a great decision. So, but yeah, that's how we all feel about it. But we should probably just start talking about it. Do you
Let's
need to
do it.
go somewhere, Omar?
No, no, I'm
Okay,
good.
I wasn't sure. I saw you like put your finger up, and I was like, oh my god, are we in timeout? No, I'm kidding. Um, so we're gonna we can kind of talk about this in chapters to y'all, but we're kind of also gonna talk about it in characters for y'all because it is very, very difficult to remember everything that happened in the beginning of this movie.
In general, right? I mean, 4 hour
Yeah, it's a
movie.
4-hour movie, dude.
Yeah, like
Jinx,
It
give
was a
me a
lot.
fucking soda.
Oh my god,
Make it Coke Zero.
also
can it
I
can it
wanted
be
to
aha?
tell y'all.
Absolutely.
Oh my god,
Sponsor.
aha. I was like, I have a story real quick. I of course had to drive like an hour to my house to do like a family thing after we watched this movie, driving back so we can record. I'm like hauling butt, not like speeding, but like I'm trying to like get here
Never.
quick cuz I want to talk about it. And I hit this like
Oh my god.
giant puddle of oil just like in the interstate. Like I saw a bunch of people slamming their
That's
brakes
dangerous.
and like
Jesus.
a wave come up and I was like, "Oh, I guess it rained." I don't know. I was like, "This is weird." And then it happened to me and it's just like it completely like fogs my entire like I couldn't see anything and I panic. I started
Wait, like it was on your
puking.
windshield?
Yeah, it like it was a giant
Holy
thing of
fuck.
it, and like it hits my windshield. I can't see. I panic. I don't know what to do, so I start just honking because I'm like, I'm
Wait, how'd
like,
you wipe it off though? Oil's
well
fucking
then
thick,
I
dude.
like well no it wiped off, but like eventually I was just like
Jesus.
oh like
Yeah.
windshield wipers, but I was like honking, so I was like someone I don't
My
I'm
god.
panicked.
I can fucking imagine.
I
We
was like I
need
just got to get back and record this
we
podcast
need
for Justice League.
security footage of this from wherever you
Yeah, I
passed.
I
wish. On the
panicked
interstate.
the hell out. I was just like, it's one of those your heart like stops
Yeah.
kind of moment, and I was just like, I just want to talk about this damn movie. And then now I have oil just like all over the front of my car. Like if someone lights a
Jesus.
match, my car is gonna burst into flames.
Oh my
So,
god.
That
that's
sucks.
great.
Let's hope that
But
doesn't
anyway,
happen.
I just wanted y'all to know how I got here. So,
I want y'all to know everything I went through to sit down and do this.
Yeah.
oh man, okay. So we might as well dive into this. First of all, the fact that they changed what happens in the beginning scenes of this movie made me so happy.
Oh, you mean
Like,
you're glad the movie didn't start with Henry Cavill on a camcorder with a fake mustache talking to a bunch of
I
kids?
I can't even understand what would compel someone to want to put that in anything. Not even a commercial, just like in nothing. I don't understand. And we get the first of all that cool ass intro where it's just like all the art and like then you get Henry, like, or I guess I should say Superman, but
Henry.
Henry. We
you
do
get
get Henry, a
Superman
lot
like
of Henry.
screaming and dying and just like
Yeah.
seeing like the repercussions of what happens. It's
Yeah.
so powerful.
I want to say too, this sticks with Zack Snyder's theme of, and I'm calling it a theme. It's only been 3 movies in this universe now, but in BVS, you know how the movie really starts with a different perspective of the ending of Man of Steel,
Yeah,
and this
exactly.
kind of does the
Exactly.
same thing, which
Yeah,
I
I
find
love that.
really cool. Like it's one of those things, like people rag on Zack Snyder for things, and they're, you know, he's got weaknesses as a filmmaker for sure, but stuff like that is where I'm like, this dude just gets how to make cool ass movies, because I just love that. I love seeing Superman die again from a different camera angle, and then we're seeing what's going on in the rest of the world, hearing his, you know, fucking yells.
It's
Like,
also just
awesome.
almost like kind of like a fuck you to Joss Whedon or Warner Brothers, whoever he's saying it to, because he's literally like, I was trying to continue my story. Like, this is literally continuing the end of the last part
Yeah.
of my story.
Yeah.
So, like, makes
Exactly.
sense. I don't know. I super liked that. That, and then we get, like, everything with Batman, like, doing his Batman thing, climbing a mountain and getting on a horse, you know. I just all of that is way cooler than seeing a parademon, like seeing him on the top of a roof talking to some man who I guess was a robber or something, and then like you just see this parademon that explodes. I don't know.
Well, here's the thing, right? Let's say if this was a 6-hour movie and you included
10
Joss
more.
Whedon's like scenes in it, right? Like everything was included, Joss Whedon's cut and the Snyder cut in one movie. You can easily tell, like the Joss Whedon cut, all those scenes were so much worse than what we got in the Snyder cut. Like, take the
Yeah.
worst scene in the Snyder cut, take the best one in Joss Whedon's cut. I mean,
I-
there's a
And
big
that was-
difference,
yeah.
guys.
I found it interesting how many, or just watching what stuff was gone now, and so much of it is like what Omar's saying, like the weirdest, cringiest moments of Justice League 2017 were gone, and that's just that
I mean,
alone
dude,
makes this
Batman's
movie.
humor
Batman
was a
yeah,
big difference.
They
it's the,
big
obliterated
difference.
it and they needed to.
yeah, it's back to
because-
Yes.
the kind of just dry sense of humor that Batman has. Like
Yeah.
Batman knows how to make jokes. Batman knows how to be funny, but it's not this like at his
It's
own
in a witty
expense.
way. It's in
yeah,
a
it's
Bruce
not
Wayne-
Yeah, he's
exactly.
just
It's like in a-
blunt.
It's
Yeah,
him
yeah.
almost, you know what I mean? Like it's the way his character is, like him almost laughing at himself, or just being stern, being
Right.
like blunt and dry. Like that is what's funny about Batman, is seeing his self apply to funny situations. It's not rolling around in
Right.
the grass holding your knee. It's not like making jokes about a line he said a movie ago. Like that's just, you know, I'm glad that stuff was
Yeah.
gone. That was
No, it's
that
too
was just
fucking
great to see that Batman is Batman again, and Batman feels like this Batman. Even if you have a problem with how
Yeah.
Batman's been portrayed in these movies, like it's back to this Batman. It makes sense again. That was cool.
I also
Right.
wanted to say, I think early on, I think Zack Snyder paints this picture of Superman in a way that didn't need to be like shoved in your face. He paints him as this beacon of hope, this light that everybody admired, and he does that throughout the whole movie. And that's what you're supposed to see everyone mourning, and I guess that's what Joss Whedon tried doing in the beginning of his Justice League version, but it was so like thrown in your face and like, you should be sad. This is his funeral, and it's like, okay, no, we get that, but the way Zack Snyder did it was so much more like flowing with showing how everybody really has been affected by him not being there anymore.
Yeah,
And that's just so much more meaningful to his character.
yeah, and Zack Snyder for sure did it more in the sense of like, look at all the Superman you've seen in the last 2 movies. It is a different Superman than you're used to, but look how this would still affect the world. Look how people would still mourn him. Whereas Joss Whedon came in and felt compelled to give us that camcorder footage of Superman being more Superman-like, so that then you'd feel sad for him. But the truth is, and I think this movie proves it, at least to the people like us that enjoy this universe, is that even though it's a different Superman, he made an impact on this world. People would mourn him for the acts that he did, and seeing the monument and seeing just the repercussions through the world, I think shows that. And it goes in line with this theme of how things that Warner Brothers and Joss Whedon thought needed to be changed to affect people just didn't. That there was a way to see this through, and for it to do what it was meant to do. You know what I mean? I think that was another just really cool thing.
I want to add on to a word that you just said, theme. And I think that's the difference really between Joss Whedon and Zack Snyder. Joss
Hmm.
Whedon in I think his version of the movie, um, I mean he was a tryhard, right? He wanted you to feel certain things. He wanted you to feel like Batman's jokes were funny. He wanted you to feel like Flash was funny. He wanted you to feel like Cyborg was going through this depressed thing. Whereas Zack Snyder, it's not that he's trying to make you feel anything. He's setting themes. Every character has a theme, right? If you walked out of Justice League thinking Cyborg is this depressed kid that's going through whatever, like you completely missed it. But that's what Joss Whedon was forcing on us. Whereas,
Yeah,
like I
and
said,
in
Zack
a
Snyder,
2-hour window.
right? Zack Snyder literally sets themes and they carry over from movie to movie. And we see it with Superman. I mean, yeah, this is the Superman that's passed away. It's a different Superman and everything, but he still has that theme. What's his theme? It's hope. And I mean that carries throughout every movie, whether he's alive, dead, whether he's going through it or not. That's his theme. And I think that's the best thing about Zack Snyder is that he's not forcing anything on us. He sets a theme and you take it how you take it. You
Which
know?
is it's exactly right, because we even see, so in the beginning of the movie, the first person I think Batman goes to recruit is Arthur Curry. He goes to
Yes.
the little town that we saw in the first movie.
Hmm.
Still, I like all the stuff there. I think it was cool, so I'm glad they didn't change a lot of that. But the
I
way he's starting, yeah,
like so definitely that scene is one of the ones that like we got in the original cut. So I think it was cool to start with that because
yeah,
there's a lot of it still there, but just the little changes they do just totally changes the vibe of that scene.
right.
Like,
And that's what I was
holy
gonna say.
shit.
Like the stuff that has changed, just that immediate, like the whole beginning of the movie and this stuff with like Aquaman. I feel like you already are getting a sense of these characters actually being developed. Like we're
Hmm.
actually getting to see why they act the way they do, or
Yeah.
we actually are getting to see Batman try and be the leader of this group, because he is like that in all of the other Justice League stuff. He's the one who gets them all together. And he might not be the leader, like obviously Superman is like the one they follow, but Batman's the reason they get to this. And
Hmm.
you get to see it not be a joke. You get to see Ben Affleck actually act and like do really well in it. Like I loved him as Batman in this movie, which I hadn't been feeling that for a lot of these other movies. But for
Yeah.
this, I was very much enjoying him as Batman.
I feel
So
like you get the best, and it's weird to I'm getting deja vu of our Justice League theatrical review because we made the comment that his best Bruce Wayne moments might have been in that movie, but they're in this movie.
Yeah.
They're this it's
Yeah.
this he
Absolutely.
took Zack Snyder stuff, and we rag on Joss Whedon. There's a couple scenes in that movie that he filmed that were fine. We don't like the overall vibe of it. We don't like how it kind of
Mhm.
changed
well, it
course of
didn't
the whole
just follow
thing.
the story.
Right. And so like this has the parts of that were good amplified. And so yeah, I mean I think he really feels like Bruce Wayne in this movie. Like the whole movie. There's not
Yeah.
this
I
feels
agree.
right, this doesn't. It's like the whole time he feels like what Batman would be and who
Yeah,
Bruce
and
Wayne we wanted.
his relationship with like every character too, like it
Yeah.
just adds on to his character as Bruce Wayne. Like his
Mhm.
his interactions with Wonder Woman, Flash, like dude, I
God, I loved
loved I
it.
loved it. Yeah, it was just so fun to watch. Whereas
Yeah.
like in the original cut, it like you could almost say you enjoy it, but they always end it on a cringy moment. It always ends with like I didn't need that extra bit, you know?
It's
It was
always going to
like
end
you
on a
said
joke, you
earlier, it
know.
was try
Yeah,
hard. Like you
exactly.
don't need to
Yeah,
try hard with these characters. They're amazing characters and we all love them already. So all
right.
you have to do is develop their story. And that's
Right.
what
Exactly.
that's what I'm glad we got at least more of in this movie. And clearly I get everyone's like 4 hours, that's ridiculous, but at the same time I think each character needed this much time developing because they don't all have their own spin-off
Exactly.
movies. Like
Exactly. I'm
it's
not
unfortunate, but you have to have it all in this movie.
right. I'm not sure if I if so I'm not sure if I'm right on this or if I just don't vibe with Aquaman in the
Mhm.
DCEU, but I didn't feel like
Really?
we got that much. Well, no, hold up. I'm not saying I don't like him. I'm just saying like out of all the new characters like Flash, Aquaman, and Cyborg, I feel like maybe we got the least
We did.
about him or his
Yeah.
back, right? Okay.
I think so
Okay.
too.
I don't know if
So
maybe I just didn't care for it, so I didn't pay attention, or if that was the case.
no, I
No,
feel
I
like
think so too.
the least
Okay.
new stuff is definitely given to him.
Yeah.
I don't know. My leading theory on that would just be that when this movie was being filmed, Aquaman was probably about to start filming. You know what I mean? Like they knew that movie was coming out in the future. I think they just knew that was a story they were going to be telling soon.
Right.
And Wonder Woman had already come out, right? So I think they knew, okay, we have to give time to Flash. We have to give time to Cyborg because there's no movies slated, and if they're coming, it's later on. So
Also, I think what I've seen, at least this is kind of what I'm pulling it from. The way Aquaman's introduced into the like Justice League animated show from forever ago is kind of similar. Like he doesn't really want to be a part of this. He doesn't really know what's
Right.
going
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
And I think like that whole vibe works really well for him. And I think also like honestly, in my opinion, all the Aquaman stuff worked the best in the original Justice League that we got from Joss Whedon. So I kind of think it's the whole if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like,
I feel you.
I think it
Yeah, I
all
see what
worked
you're
really
saying.
well. So
he was the
I think the
least
stuff,
damaged character in
yeah,
that.
and I think the
in
stuff that they
movie.
added for him helped even more, but they didn't have to add much. Like his
I feel you.
character
Yeah.
wasn't as broken.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I took from it.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So the first, again, this movie's set up in 6 chapters, but it's a 4-hour movie, so it's really hard to remember what goes into what. So we're gonna try to kind of go through it and just talk about the movie in order, but not necessarily like say this chapter 1.
I have no
this.
idea where the beginning of chapter 1 starts and where it ends. I'm just being completely honest.
All I remember, you know what? 6 chapters. All the names of them were cool. All the transitions to them were cool.
Dude, yeah. Wait, I can read them real quick. No, I'm not gonna read them all. But the first chapter, I love how it's don't count on it. Like you notice it's don't count on a Batman, and there's always like the chapter name is something that a character says in that chapter, which is like corny but
really
cute
cool.
at the same time.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed that.
But yeah, so the first chapter was that like Batman talking to Arthur Curry, all that, and then we got the cool Wonder Woman intro too, which we didn't really talk too much about that. But that I love the extended version of that because it made that scene less of a joke and more of like
it was like so much better.
Yeah, it's like she is badass. She like actually showing. I'm one of those people that will criticize Zack Snyder's use of slow-mo a little bit because he just overdoes it. It is
a lot in this movie.
Way overdoes it, even in this movie. But I like when he does it in interesting ways, and I think almost all the stuff we got with Wonder Woman at the beginning was really cool and fun, and showing her in a slowed down state of how she would save, block bullets and all this stuff, and not, push kids out the way. Like all of that to me was really, really cool, and I liked this extended version of that scene because in Whedon's cut, it was weird. It was like, this place is getting held up with all these hostages, but like why?
It shouldn't have been shortened. Like we have no understanding as to why it's happening the way it is. Not only that, but the music in this version makes this scene so much cooler. I don't know how you can change music and make it just that much lamer, but the music in this version of it, like when they're getting out the truck and everything, it's cooler. Like they seem like bad guys.
Yes.
And I found that so interesting. I also am going to say something controversial, but Wonder Woman is so badass in literally all of this movie. Maybe some of the best Wonder Woman scenes I've seen, like action-wise, in all of the DCEU. It almost to the point where I just wish this was Wonder Woman too. Like,
wow.
This seems like this is her movie. Like she is phenomenal in this movie. That he gave her so much power. She was the one that could kick everyone's ass in this movie, and I loved that because he highlighted it so well in this movie. So that's my.
Are you saying that was your favorite character?
Honestly, probably.
Okay.
I wouldn't have even thought that at first because I love so many of these characters, but she's so badass in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like she does so many cool things. All her action is so good and she's just so powerful. Like you actually get to see her kick ass, but in a I'm gonna save the world kind of way. I just find that super appealing.
It's also such a shout out to Gal Gadot because it's crazy to me to think about how many different styles of movies she's been in playing this character. Like BVS, the original Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman 1984 is very different from that one too. So that's already 3. Then she's in the weird Whedon cut, which she was probably the best part of that movie. And then she fits right into this too. And it's like, all these movies have very different tones with the exception of this and BVS are very similar. But like the rest of these movies, she's been in so many different takes of this
Versions of herself.
Yes, and she's
It's
always
weird.
playing herself. Like she always plays the character true and like is awesome in them. And it's just really cool to see that character live through all these movies and be like fine and awesome. And then even in
Mhm.
this one, we get another just badass version of her and maybe the best one
Yeah.
yet.
Like that opening scene, and again, I can't even talk enough about the music in this movie. It's so freaking good. But when you see her like standing on the statue when they introduce her, it's kind of the same. And I remember thinking in the
Badass
other
though.
movie that I thought that was corny. I was just like, this is too much of an
Mhm.
intro. But with this, literally just with the music change, it made it so much cooler. I don't understand how that's possible,
No,
but
I
it
mean, dude, the
happened.
music like honestly made the movie for me because even something as simple as when Batman first meets Flash in his little lair thing,
Mhm.
that music was different and it
It
kind of like
was.
amps you up. Even with the Flash is responding with like his little one-liners where and Joss Whedon's I took it as okay like he's the funny character whatever.
Hmm.
It was the same lines, it was the same response, but I took it as, "Okay, like, let's get this fucking show on the road." Like, it was
Hmm.
hype, just literally just because of how the music was in the background, like, it completely changed, and it just kinda, like, hypes you up, and that you see it happen with a lot of things, even at the end with, you not the last, like, big fight, but, when they first get to the place, I forgot what it was called or, like, where the whole operation was, but,
Right.
the music where yeah, with Aquaman on Batman's side, even that music, like, it just fucking
It's
it's like,
yes.
"Yeah, let's
They
go."
whoever did the score for this
Mhm.
movie was on point. It was amazing. And I completely
Agreed.
agree. I also think with the Flash in this one, his jokes weren't just like thrown in, I gotta be the funny guy kind of thing. It really just felt like his personality. Like we
Yeah,
actually got to
exactly.
see it be him. And it worked so much better for me this time than it did in the last movie. I was so happy about that because I
Yeah.
wanted to like Ezra Miller as Flash, but now I actually do. So I'm cool with
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me too, I think Ezra Miller's great. I think some of the humor still falls flat for me from him, but then some of it really hit. And as we're going through the movie, I'm starting to think about it. And I think most of the stuff that fell flat is the stuff that we've already seen now 2 or 3 times
Yeah.
in the
Yeah,
other
yeah.
one.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to figure out why, like, is it just that I don't vibe with that humor that's in that, or is it just you've seen it before and you've seen it in a different light where it's like, okay, more of this. So I almost think it's not fair to criticize him for that because
It so sucks too,
it
because
sucks when you're trying to be like have comedic timing and it's been torn apart and put together in all these different ways and you've had to see people have seen 2 different versions of it now and it's like it's edited differently now and maybe it's better, but at the same time, people have already heard some of these jokes before. And so
Yeah.
I just feel like
Yeah.
it's not fair to criticize certain parts of this movie because it's not the first time we've seen it. It's a different version of it,
yeah.
but if things felt weird and old before, it's like, does it do enough to make it feel better? Maybe not. But if I hadn't seen it before, maybe I wouldn't even be
Yeah.
thinking
Well,
this.
and
So,
that's what this movie is going to suffer from the most. It
yeah.
sucks, but I feel like I could feel that maybe through the first 2 to 3 chapters cuz it's a lot of just teaming up and meeting people and
Hmm.
like character
Yeah.
development. And I feel like because of that I sat there thinking, "Oh, this movie would have been so much better if we didn't know where the story was going. If
Hmm.
we didn't know where these characters were going to end up or how they were going to end up, we would have enjoyed this so much more." And I
That
hate
that
that.
actually that actually perfectly describes my main slash one problem with this movie
Me
is
too.
I think that describes why I felt underwhelmed is
Yeah,
because if I was seeing
we
this for the
knew.
first time, it would have fucking hit me. It would have taken me off my
Yep.
feet. But because yeah, we already kind of knew, and the plot was pretty much the same, except with a
Yeah.
bunch of cooler explanations and takes on things. So I think that's why I was a bit underwhelmed. But
I was gonna
Right,
say
and I think that's what everyone will suffer from with
yeah.
this.
I have a
yeah,
lot on that too. So when we get to like the end of the movie,
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
Oh.
gonna
for
have a
sure.
lot to
Oh
say.
boy. Oh boy. We're
Oh
digging into that
boy.
ending. I did want to say cuz we were talking about the Aquaman stuff. I was waiting for we all 3 watched this movie together and my brother Mike. I was waiting for one of y'all to say something, but when Aquaman meets up with Mira for the first time, I'm like, is she British? Like, has she been British this whole time? And I just
Yeah,
No,
what the
right?
never
fuck was
knew that.
that?
But she had a British accent this whole movie.
I could
Like, this whole movie.
sworn she is not British in
I didn't think so
Aquaman.
either, but then
Dude,
I
she
was.
definitely wasn't.
She wasn't, right?
No.
Okay, I
Yeah, I
couldn't
was very thrown
remember.
off.
Oh
I
my
don't
When
know.
she
god.
was
I was
talking,
very thrown off.
I kept looking at y'all because I was wondering when somebody was going to say something, and I was like, I'll just save it for later. But She was legit British, and I don't understand. I don't really get
Yeah.
why she was, but
Yeah, I don't know.
oh,
But she
okay,
was.
I guess she's British now.
So far, I think we've lightly talked, or I guess we've discussed like Wonder Woman, Batman, Flash, and Aquaman. We still have Cyborg and Superman. Do you guys want to save Superman for last since he kind of
Oh,
comes
well,
in?
I do
Definitely.
want to talk a
Definitely.
little bit more about with Wonder Woman because we didn't talk about the
Okay.
whole Amazonian part. Like when
Yes.
they're
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
okay, so when all of that happens, first of all, I also looked at them again because I legit was crying and I don't know why. I think I'm just emotional today.
Wait,
But
when we were watching the movie?
yeah, I was like
Okay, I
crying.
wasn't sure if you were sniffing because you had a
I heard a
cold or
sniffle or
what,
two.
but
I was like,
yeah, I
but I was
sure
like
did.
holding my eyes right here because I was like trying to get myself to not bawl crying because I was like, why is this so powerful to me right now? Like that
Yeah.
whole scene, it's that one part. So it was the part where Steppenwolf like appears, you see him for the first time. Well, not the first time, but like the first time he comes to get something. He gets there and says something about fear, and then you hear her say to like her crew, she's just like, show him your fear, and then they all yell, we have no fear. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh my god, this is so cool.
was
I don't know
really
why,
cool.
I just thought that part was like the coolest. I It's so over the top and great,
It
and
was hype.
I loved the extended version of that whole scene because I
Yes.
thought that scene was cool in the other movie too.
I did
But
too.
it
I
was
thought that
way
was
better in this movie.
I thought that whole sequence in the original one was one of the better
Yeah.
parts of it, especially just the choreography of them trying to get the mother box out and just throwing, shooting the arrows and getting attached to the horse and stuff. I thought all that actually worked. But yeah, seeing the extended version of it, it's like it's even fucking better.
I got chills. I was like, this is so dope.
Yeah,
I
it's
super
crazy, man.
loved it.
Because like this, yeah, watching this movie, there was some scenes, like the extended versions of them, where I'm like, I can't believe someone actually agreed to let Joss Whedon take it out, right?
Right?
Like, how fucking dare you?
It'd be
Like,
like,
That's
hey
it.
how,
man,
dude?
this scene
I
doesn't
just
work if you do that.
there was
But
so many things. Even like when Flash and Cyborg are at the graveyard and
Yeah.
they're grabbing Clark's
oh,
body, and
dude,
Flash says Superman was my hero. How do you take that out the fucking movie,
There's
dude?
yeah,
so much
Like,
I noticed
come
that
on, man.
goes into this movie that they took out the parts that explain why they're doing what they're doing, but
yes,
Hmm.
kept them doing it. And I'm like,
yes,
why?
That
Why?
and not only explain, but that actually makes you care, right?
yes.
Yes.
Like,
So you just see like the whole
crazy, man.
scene, which I guess I'm jumping. We can talk more about that in a minute, but I mostly just mean that scene where they're bringing Superman back to life. There's
Hmm.
so much more that goes into that scene, and I thought it would just be more of the same, but it was so much more impactful
Yeah,
and powerful, and I'm just how? Like how did they decide that that would be such a good idea to take out because they
crazy, man.
wanted to make this movie 2 hours? Like was it that
Yeah,
important to make this movie 2 hours? I don't get it.
Apparently,
yeah.
I
I don't
just don't
know.
understand. But yeah, I
Crazy world
think
we live in.
the Amazon stuff was so much cooler in this movie. And then
Hmm.
we get all the stuff too. I know we haven't even talked about it yet, but all the cyborg background stuff
Yes.
I
yeah,
think was so important and pivotal to the story of this movie
yeah.
and
Yeah.
making you give a shit.
Real quick, Matthew, what do you know about Cyborg? Like anything, or just from this universe?
Booyah.
That's all you know.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah.
Okay,
Teen
because I
Titans.
I think me and Bailey probably have like the most connection because I definitely know a lot about him just from Smallville, Teen
And I
Titans,
didn't even
the
know he was
actual
on
Titans show.
Smallville.
What
I
were
like
you
had
about to
no clue he
call it?
was
How
on.
dare
I
you?
almost called
Yeah,
it
no, he was on
Seinfeld.
Smallville. Jeez. Yeah, I know. I think that's what you're going for. So I definitely think, yeah, I guess we would probably know a bit more about him because, like, yeah, I already knew the whole backstory about like he was in an accident with his mom, whatever. His
Hmm.
mom dies, but every time you see it, man, every time you see
It's
it
so
happen, there's
sad.
always it's so sad, but it's always a different take. Like it's always a different way it happens,
Hmm.
Um, but once again, how fucking dare they take that out the Joss Whedon
Well,
cut?
it
Like
Yeah,
it just makes you not care about what he's
at
going
all. I didn't give
through.
a shit about
it
Cyborg in the first
doesn't.
movie.
And so
I
that's
thought it
what
was cool, but I just didn't give a fuck.
right. And so that's why it was weird because I've followed a lot of the Ray Fisher stuff and I'm totally just
Mhm.
like, I mean, this so much of how it sounds like he was treated on the set of when Joss Whedon came in sucked.
Yeah.
And then rewatching 2017, I was like, this is missing a lot of him, but to me, he still feels like one of the coolest characters in this. But like obviously with so much missing, I was like, we
Yeah.
need so much more. But I was like, it doesn't really seem like Joss Whedon painted him in a bad light or anything. So I was a little confused on that. But then finally seeing this, I totally get now what the problem is because yes, like Cyborg is, I think Zack Snyder might have said in an interview that Cyborg is like the heart of this movie, and he really
Yeah.
is,
He
because I feel like he's the
is.
biggest emotional connection you get.
Mhm.
And all of his backstory and everything he goes through with his parents, his mom dying early on and then his father later on, it's like there's so much backstory of this character that explains why he's acting the way he is, like why he's
Yeah.
so damaged, why he is having problems trusting these people, but then why he's finally using the powers that he finally accepts for good. Like all of this stuff that they give us with him is so crucial to this character being cool and awesome and relatable to. And for all that to be cut out, like I place a chunk of the blame, but I get the whole like Joss Whedon come in and make this 2 hours. I get he's got to cut stuff out. I get he's
Right.
looking at this 4-hour fucking movie and like, what do I take out? And he's got to just start taking huge chunks. But I don't get how you could have looked at this and say, take that out and this character still makes sense being here. Like it just
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense to me.
That's
And like
that's the thing, man.
I
Yeah,
think
Justice League was like a human body, and Joss Whedon took the heart out and left everything else in.
It's like keep the rest
Like,
of the stuff.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that you can't have like Cyborg does not make sense in that cut, and in this one he's so much more and he's so much cooler, and like I
And
loved
that's
him. I think he benefited the most from this extended version. Like
Absolutely.
he
Absolutely.
benefited the most
Which
from all
makes
the extra
sense why
screen
Ray
time.
Fisher was like probably the
So
most active on
pissed.
social media and just
100%.
pushing.
Because he gave it his
Yeah.
all. I mean, he kicked ass to Cyborg. Again,
I mean,
He
dude,
y'all have
did.
more
one
of
of
the
my favorite-
connection, so y'all can speak more
Yeah.
on it. But like, fuck, just
Well,
from what
I
I've
was
seen of
gonna say-
Cyborg, like he is great, and even not knowing that, like he acted phenomenally in this.
I was gonna say one of my favorite lines, if not my favorite line in the movie. I forgot the first half of it, but where he goes like, "I'm not this, I'm not alone."
Mhm.
Oh yeah, at the end.
Yeah, when it's like the three witches or whatever. Yeah, like
Mhm.
dude, that
Yeah.
line, like, how do you just not include
Well,
it, bro?
that
know.
it's just one of
Don't
those things where his character, and you're right, Matt, like he played this character just like how you would want Cyborg to be played in a
Mhm.
live action movie. And a lot of people are saying like, oh, Cyborg's like super emo in this. And it's like, yeah, he is emo in this, but like he's emo in everything because
Yeah.
the story's always the same. He's always lost his mom, been in a horrible accident, and like lost his whole body and is now a machine. Like,
Yeah.
why wouldn't you be emo in that sense, right? Like,
Yeah. When you have
at
the
least he
context
chooses to
of
be a
it.
good guy.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where, like, yeah, his whole story played out for us to finally see, which it's not even like it takes that much time up. I don't really understand why it couldn't have been added. Like the whole flashback scene with him playing football, and again, we get more slow-mo, which might be my one thing in this movie. I love the scenes in slow-mo because I think they're super cool. Dude, this movie's 4 hours because everything's slow. Like, if
I'm just
everything
kidding, he
was just a
doesn't play football.
normal time, the movie probably would have been 3 hours. Like, no lie.
Yeah,
Yes.
It is that much slow-mo. But his whole thing with his mom, and then his relationship with his dad, and in the end when his dad dies and him seeing his dad die, like you feel that so much more, and you see why it's so hard for him, and you have more of a relationship with his dad, which I find so hilariously dumb that the dude's dad is technically just dead in the other movie and we don't even know it.
Who, Cyborg's dad?
Yeah, because
No, isn't he in it?
so no, so not at the end. And so you see at the end when like he gets the last mother box, that you see the boom tube, like so they're all
boom
it's after
tube?
Superman. Oh, sorry, that's what they're called, boom tubes.
Oh.
I'm sorry, they
I
don't
got
say
so
that. I
confused.
only know that because I just watched Young Justice. But when they're
Okay.
like going everywhere and like using that like portal that comes from the sky, they call those
Oh,
boom tubes.
that's cool.
I'm assuming that's what they were making those, because that's
Mm-hmm.
like what they use to get around. But I'm jumping ahead, but that scene where they are all in the field and like Lois and Superman like just flew off, like he like ran to her and flew off, and they're all just in the field, and that's when Batman's like, I'm bleeding on the inside or whatever. You see the boom tube in the distance, and you see that he got the third mother box and he went away. Do you remember that?
Yeah, vaguely now.
In the original. So that's when he gets it. Like all you see is him get it and leave. Like you don't actually see them fight it. But in this version,
Yes.
they're in there fighting it, and that's when his dad dies. And I was
Right.
like, so
Yeah.
was his dad just like technically dead?
Oh, okay.
Like,
I see what you're saying. Yeah, that's it's
and
one of
it's
those things.
so weird to think about that his dad was just like dead and we didn't know it.
Yeah, that or I'm
But in
assuming.
this, it's just I know, and it could have been different. But all I'm saying is, it was this big emotional moment
Yes.
that was so important, and you also
Mhm.
get to see Steppenwolf get the last mother box.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
That
you don't even see it in the other movie.
that's the craziest thing to me talking about that scene because I didn't remember in the background that he even grabs it and goes in. I just kind of remember
You just
jumping
see
to
it in
it.
a distance.
So yeah, it's lame. It's to the inevitable comparisons to MCU Avengers like in Infinity War when he's getting each stone, it's a big fucking deal. So him in this movie, each box
Yep.
is, so it's weird to not make a big deal of the last
Yeah.
one in the other cut. So yeah, that is weird.
He just like sneaks in.
Yeah, and it adds, so like you said too, it adds so much motivation for Cyborg going into
did.
the last fight of like, my dad just made this huge sacrifice. I mean, I got chills when, again, we're jumping ahead real quick,
Right.
but when Batman says like, your father sacrificed himself to like do this to the mother box so that we could track it and get there. It's like,
Yeah.
holy shit, like he's
No,
got
I mean,
motivation to go now.
getting to the point where we finally get a good background for Cyborg, and we definitely see Flash with his dad more, which I think was super important too. And seeing all of, because we get that scene kind of, but
Yeah,
it's a little, I
it's
think
a little more
little
drawn out.
extended.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know, just because you get more Flash in general in this movie, it makes the scene with his dad more important.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And so I like that.
Yeah, so to jump to Flash now, it's like you get more why he'd be willing to do this versus just in the first one he just seems like this, I'm
Dopey
saying,
kid.
yeah, he's just like this kid that like meets Batman. He's like, oh, this is cool. I'm gonna go do this, and I'm just gonna be goofy, and I'm gonna be the most childlike person here. Whereas in this one, like having the whole setup with his father before in the extended scene, seeing how his dad is just holding his hand through the mirror. I can't remember if that was in the other one, but all
It
the
was, it was.
okay,
It was.
I feel like just the extended conversation here, you really felt the weight of him saying, I am a burden on your life. Like, you coming to visit me is a burden on your life. Do not come here anymore. I love you. I'm not saying this because I don't love you. I'm saying this because you need to make
Right.
something of yourself. And then seeing him leave that, meeting with his father and then go do this, it just felt more like, okay, there's reasons why Flash would go and do this and feel like, okay, I'm doing something now. Like, I'm doing something with this power that I have that I don't really know how to use yet. Like,
Right.
again, it's
Which-
just
Yeah,
adding
so-
context to the movie. Just
Well,
somehow
that
makes
so
it good.
that was in the original cut, but it definitely, I mean, yeah, just showing this take on the Flash where he's not a sore fucking loser. Where Batman, like in the original cut, Batman has to tell him, "Hey, just save one person." This movie, you see
Yeah.
fucking from stairs, this, that. Like he's a man of action. He's
Yeah.
doing shit.
Well, and we
you know?
also get that scene where he's introduced, where we see him like trying to get a job, which I
Yeah,
thought was
yeah,
really
yeah.
nice
was
too.
awesome.
I think
Yeah,
that
that was
helped.
awesome. I love that.
I think that
Yeah.
helped a lot. And I know, I don't remember who his love interest, the name of
Iris
who his,
West.
Iris. I couldn't remember. Yeah. So I think like I know that's rumored to be her, or maybe it's confirmed that it is her. The
It's
girl he
100% her.
saves. Oh, okay.
She's yeah.
I wasn't sure.
She's already cast in the Flash movie.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. Well, yeah.
Nice.
So that whole scene was super cool because we, again, already got him to see him save someone before he even is a part of the Justice League. And
Right.
then we get the whole Batcave, like, not Batcave, but Batman, like, being in his lair already, which was already cool. Like, that's such a Bruce Wayne Batman thing to do.
Mhm.
And I loved that. I think that scene's great for Batman. So I'm glad they kept that in. But then yeah, we transfer to him doing the whole fight scene where they're all teaming up for the first time to go save these people, and you see the Flash actually get to be the Flash
Yeah.
because he
Right.
wasn't in the other movie. So like that scene where you see all the like rocks crumbling from the building and they're all falling, and all of a sudden you just see him like hopping and like getting all of them out of the way really
Mhm,
quickly.
mhm.
I just thought
So
I thought
cool.
that
That
was
was
so
so
fucking
bad.
cool.
Oh, that was
so
awesome.
badass.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was awesome. The like y'all said, to not have him be so like, oh, how do I do? What do I do this? And
Right.
Batman's got to say, just save one person.
With all this
You know
power,
what I
dude.
mean?
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, like showing him actually just be himself is cool. I also loved how the scene where everything's super slowed down, where he runs around and pushes the sword to Wonder Woman, like
Yeah.
just changing the music there. And I get what Joss Whedon was
Absolutely,
doing.
dude.
He was
Yeah.
going for the fucking Quicksilver X-Men scene. Like that
Right.
is 100% what he was doing. Everybody loved the Quicksilver thing. Why wouldn't they love this? It feels more like it built that moment is so pivotal. That's why I think it sucked that he changed that to such a comedic beat now. And because
Yeah.
that is like this moment of like he really is like using his powers to like just give Wonder Woman the extra inch she needs to grab her sword. Like it's such a like we are helping each other out with each other's strengths. And to like
Right.
see that happen like that and to not have the musical montage, instead to just be more of like a somber cool scene, like I don't know, like that just contributes so much to their teamwork at the end not feeling like a joke. Like instead it feels
Mhm.
like, oh look, we have each other's backs, we can help each other out. And I don't know, I guess in a 4-hour movie you notice more little building things like this, but
Yeah.
it's like that
Right.
to me was such a cool change. Like that just changing the music and showing a little bit more of it just
That
felt
whole
more
team up
cool.
was
That was a big
better.
thing.
Yeah. Oh
Like
Yeah.
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 at that when we get to that point where they team up and go fight someone for the first time, it is it feels like the team. It
Yeah.
feels like they're together and they deserve to be. It's still new and they're still learning, but they felt real and not like they just were a bunch of strangers getting together to go save.
Yeah.
Like they kind of are, but it's clear like they all want the same
Yeah,
things.
it
Right.
felt less awkward like it did in Joss Whedon's, and I think it was supposed to feel awkward. I think it was supposed to be a little funny because of that. But in this
Yeah.
one it didn't feel awkward. It instead just felt new. It felt like they are
Well,
here figuring each other's powers out, but they're willing to work with each other. Batman's willing to just be like, I need you to do this, and them do it and figure stuff out versus it just being this weird joke that
well, I'm not gonna go as far as saying it was a joke. I think in Joss Whedon's not defense, but in that case, it was okay.
Yeah.
These guys all have powers. They're using them to save the universe. Whereas here, we have a little backstory to everyone. They all
Yeah.
have a reason to be there.
yes.
It's not that just they have powers. No, they all have a reason. They all have something to fight for.
Yes.
Flash, yeah, that conversation with his dad. He feels like now he needs to do something meaningful with his life. Cyborg obviously going to save his dad, but also you see that yeah, the kid has heart. I mean, even that it's such a small scene, it's such a small moment, but that whole ATM thing with the lady,
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh
like that
god, I
just
love
makes
that.
you like it just makes you care more,
Mhm.
right? And then Wonder Woman obviously feeling like okay, she's got to defend the world, she's got to
She's
defend the
also
man,
being told that her like all of her
right?
sisters are dead. So
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. So I mean, it's just like things like that. Whereas, yeah, you're not forced to feel anything. You just get explanation. You make out of it what you make out of it.
right.
Yeah.
You
And
you
that's what
connect
it
to it
was
however you do.
missing.
Exactly.
They
Yeah.
took all of the part out where you're supposed to care about these people and
Right. And just told
then
you,
they team
hey,
them up.
right,
Yeah.
right. They
Yeah.
just gave you like the content and told you, okay, this is how you're supposed to feel.
Right. And
That was
so
it.
that's why it's like and clearly we all like will have some issues, I'm sure, the longer we can think about this movie and like watch it again. But just from basing it off of a comparison to what came out and what we were given, it's just we now see why all these how all these characters were supposed to be developed. And that alone is just the only reason this movie needs to exist. It's like we finally are
Hmm.
just knowing why they're doing what they're doing. And I can't thank Zack Snyder enough for that. Now that
Yeah.
we've gone through this whole journey and I know more about DC in general, it's just it makes me give so much more of a shit and I'm so happy about it. So yeah, seeing them team up and honestly Cyborg and Flash have way better chemistry in this movie.
Yeah, you would
Yeah,
have never
Like
absolutely.
they seem
known.
like buds and I love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
Yeah. No,
loved that. I
absolutely.
loved giving Flash more of that because he's always going to have that weird dynamic with Batman where it's supposed to be funny because Flash is more goofy and Batman's so serious. So that's just how it
Mhm.
Yeah.
works. You know what I mean? Like I get that. That was more or less the same but without some of the cringier jokes. And
Right.
then so yeah, I think giving Flash more of like a buddy friend, you know what I mean? And like seeing
Mhm.
his chemistry with Cyborg, like that just helps elevate both their characters and it helped Flash feel less like a joke and just more like the
Yeah.
goofier character that he is, which again, I'm not the biggest, like I don't follow a lot of Flash content. I haven't watched the show. I don't read a lot of comics or anything like that, but I know that he's the goofier one out of all
Yeah.
these guys. And
I mean
Well,
Omar would
actually,
like know the most.
I was gonna say the show is the darkest take on the Flash out there.
oh,
Like
really?
he's not
Really?
that goofy, funny character. Yeah, no, he's like he's gone through a lot, constantly going through losses, this and that. Um, I mean, obviously CW. There's like one-liners here and there that are funny, but
Mhm.
no, he's definitely it's the darkest take on the character. Whereas, yeah, like obviously as you know, like in Justice League, he's like
Yeah.
that light-hearted character.
Yeah, he's way
Um,
more way more going with the goofier side of Flash, which it I
exactly.
think with Miller though, like being the actor for it, he does so well with a dark character too. So I think
Yeah.
he is good at playing the best of both worlds. Like In the emotional
Sure.
scenes, you can see how emotional it is for him.
Right.
But with the funny stuff, it works great. Also, another person we have not even mentioned yet, but has been hilarious and a little ray of sunshine in this
Yes,
movie,
love that guy.
Alfred.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Alfred was phenomenal in this movie.
The
I'm so glad we got more Alfred.
Real quick,
Dude,
too,
yes.
because we're getting away from that scene now, which is fine. But the last thing I wanted to say about it is that weird moment after all the slow-mo stuff happens where Flat and Joss Whedon's cut where he falls on top of Wonder
Yeah.
Woman and they have this weird like,
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
I
that was
landed on
weird.
you, kind of just like
Yeah.
strange, cringy
Like
moment.
touched her boob
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah,
thing.
and it's just like that's totally gone. They both just land normally, I think,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly, and it just the scene continues to be cool and badass, and the teamwork builds instead of this goofiness. Like
Right.
again, another one of those things where it just comedy for the
Just
sake of comedy,
why?
it just didn't make sense, and instead they get to be cool and continue to build chemistry. So
Right.
shout out to
No, I love
that being gone because that was really weird.
No, I
But
agree.
yes, Alfred. Oh my god, like more
He
Alfred
was
because
so great in this
was it
movie.
Jeremy Irons? Is his name right?
Jeremy Irons
Yes.
is
It's
a
great.
phenomenal. Him and Ben Affleck together, honestly, are a phenomenal
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne and
Dude, I
Alfred.
fucking love it. I mean, I
Yeah.
could watch a whole fucking sitcom where it's just those two.
Right?
No one else.
I'd love
No one
it.
else. Just those two.
I
Yeah,
seriously,
fucking making tea for each other.
I know. I think what they did with Alfred in this movie was it's just builds so much on like when you read the graphic novels and shit. Like Alfred's so like that, and I think
Yeah.
it's just again shows that Zack Snyder did his homework and he knew what he was doing. So why not
Mhm.
trust this man with everything? No, I'm kidding.
That's the thing. It makes you enjoy it a lot more when you know the person in charge is like he cares
Yeah.
and he
Yeah.
actually knows his shit. It just makes you enjoy it a lot more. You know.
Yeah, well, you
So,
can tell in the
exactly.
art that's
Yeah, you
being
could
made
right.
that
You can
the
see the
artist
effort
likes what they're
being made.
doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to say I think my like my the funniest line, the like the line that I found the funniest was when Batman walks in and he's introducing everyone to Alfred and he goes like, "Yeah, I work for him." I dude,
Oh,
it
yeah.
made me fucking laugh. I
He's,
love that.
he's
I
like,
love
yeah,
that
this
part.
is Alfred. I work for him.
That was
I thought that
good.
was so cute. Yeah, he just would say like the little back and forth they would have where
Right.
Alfred even
Little
walks off
banter.
after that and says like, I'll put the tea on. He's like, don't know where I'm gonna find enough cups or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
Yeah, just
It's
was like
just it's so cute and clever. I don't know. It's
mhm.
charming and it makes you like
Exactly,
that
charming,
more.
yeah.
It makes you like
Yeah, yeah.
Batman more, which I think was desperately needed for this movie too.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I think
Yeah.
Batman and Wonder Woman in this movie are great, like heads of the group.
They are.
Like
Yes.
they very much work well together, and they are very clearly the ones trying to bring everyone together and build this up and save the world. And I think they're great, like captains together. I think it worked
Mhm.
really well.
Yeah.
And so I was very happy to see that happen too, because they were trying to do the whole like build the romance thing. I wasn't a huge fan of the whole hand on the mouse and then the
Oh,
other
I
hand on the mouse thing.
I laughed at that
I thought it
only
was funny.
because I think Ben Affleck is good at that
Yeah,
type of
yeah.
humor. Again, going
Mhm.
back to like
Honestly,
not the what we got in Joss Whedon's cut, but just more of that dry, like I am
Yeah.
this more macho Batman, and then just the weird moments that like the weird situations he gets put in, like just them touching the mouse at the same time. I just find that I thought that was funny.
it was that, and for some reason, as soon as they touched, I don't know why, that image of Affleck dropping the coffee
No.
just popped in my fucking
The
mind. And I was like,
Dunkin'
man,
Donuts.
yeah, it's like he's a clumsy guy, man.
I'm so
And just
sorry,
like I don't know,
Ben Affleck, that
just
you have
fucking made me.
paparazzi outside your house when you're just trying
He's
to
so
pick
funny.
up your
I love
Dunkin'
that.
To
Donuts
live your damn
delivery.
life.
Yeah, come on.
But yeah, I they definitely are trying to build on a romance between them, which is fine. It's not like overshadowing.
You
or
say that
anything.
actually that's not the case at all, and this is because I
Dude,
read Justice League 2 and 3.
I was gonna say
and I
when
know.
Oh.
I read that too, and this is not the
You
time
read
yet
it?
to talk about it yet. But oh my god,
I didn't know you read it too.
I read it like an hour ago. I was like right before we.
Dude, crazy.
Oh my god, I'm the only
Crazy.
one who doesn't know. Now I have to
So
read
they
it when
actually
we get
take a
off of
couple
this.
things from the comics that does happen.
I'm gonna pee real
but for the
quick, guys,
most part,
because I gotta pee bad. But yes, I
Okay.
read
Dude,
some.
He
go for
always
it.
he's got the smallest bladder.
I do. These long podcasts,
Aw.
guys. I got to.
Yeah, no, they take a couple things from the comics with Justice League 2 and 3 with
Okay.
the storylines they end up going with. But no, I mean it seems like a lot of it Zack Snyder had this vision from probably when he started Man of Steel and he
Mhm.
wanted to carry it out until Justice League 3 where I guess things would end. And Bailey, it's mind blowing. It's like
Oh,
if I told you about it, you'd probably like just lose it.
You
Honestly.
already know once we get off of this, I'm reading it because the
Oh
way
my
this
god, I
movie
can't wait to talk.
ends and how
Yeah.
much I clearly have fallen in love with whatever story is being created for this, I I'm heartbroken that we aren't going to get more. I know there's
Okay,
like a
that's the
slight
plan right now, right?
chance.
But
I know there's a
yeah, that's
slight
the thing.
chance. I know it, but it's not going to be for years. It's going to be a really long
Sure,
time.
sure, sure, sure,
It could
sure.
end up being or things could change from what they have out there right now for the scripts for the next two. So I'm gonna read it because I'm too
Yeah.
impatient and I want to know what's gonna happen, and where they're gonna go with the story. If I love it, I'm gonna be even more pissed, and I'm gonna blame Warner Brothers, and we're gonna burn
There's
that
no
place to the
way
ground.
there's no way they end up changing the script though, just because it'd be such a huge
It has to
disconnect
follow the story,
from
right?
what happens in this. I mean, they set so much up for it, Bailey. Like you have no
They
idea. Even just very, very small scenes or very like even one-liners to where you don't really think much about it. It directly connects to what Zack Snyder had envisioned for Justice League 2 and 3.
which
Um
even
so it's just
speaking of,
crazy.
we should probably talk about. So we need to get to Superman because we haven't gotten to
Yes.
Superman yet, and
Absolutely.
everything. First of all, they have that little round table meeting where they come up with the idea to bring
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Superman back to life. I love that scene. I wish it would have been in the other movie. It was
Yes.
perfect. And we needed to see their team up moment where they all had the same thought. And Flash even
Mhm.
says that. He's like, we're all thinking the same thing. And that's when you get the like image pop up of
Yeah. Oh, I
Superman.
love
And
that, man.
oh, it was so beautiful. They
So
get the
cool.
idea. They have the whole grave digging scene, which also is a great scene. And they even have even the little things that Zack Snyder thought of where he was like,
The little thing.
these it always gets brought up. These superheroes clearly could just like dig this coffin, like get this
Yeah.
coffin out in 2 seconds and leave. But even have Flash say, "We could do this in like 2 seconds." But they both look at each other and they're like, "This is our hero," and they take their
Mhm.
time and they get it out. And again, builds more to Superman's character, which needed to happen. So
Right.
it's little things. It's the little things like that that
Oh,
need to be
guys,
done.
fucking stop.
Go watch
I
our
feel
little
like
things review.
We no, just stop. No one should ever watch that. Like honestly, fucking thumbs down. Whatever you guys need to do to
Whatever you need to do.
move it down the list. Dude, I'm ready to talk about Superman.
okay,
Honestly,
well,
honest to
good.
God,
Because
yes.
when we get to the point, like we were talking about earlier, where they resurrect him and everything in the Flash kind of goes through with it, and then we get the vision from Cyborg. And it's like the first vision we get where he sees
Oh my goodness,
everything
yes.
that's going to happen if they bring Superman back to life.
Hmm.
And it fucking got me. Like I don't understand how they couldn't have, because this is universe building. This is the next two
Yes,
movies building. How
Bailey,
could you
yes.
take this out?
because the problem with this scene is that it's future movie building, and
I
so
know.
clear. If there's one thing that this movie made clear to me is that Warner Brothers, above all else, the only thing they wanted more than a 2-hour runtime was that there was no shot in hell that there was going to be another
Having a
movie,
sequel. I know.
except for the Deathstroke scene at the after credits that we got, because Joss Whedon probably
Yeah.
walked in there and was
And they
like, "You
only
can't
kept
do it
that
without
in
after
because it
credits."
was cool. Like that's
Yeah,
the only reason they
but
kept
no,
that in.
nothing in the movie could have any threads to a future movie, and it's
Which is
very
so
clear. It's
sad.
very
It's
fucking
so
clear.
sad that a corporation like them was willing to like destroy art being made because they are too scared of like not making good money. And I know there's
That's
so much that goes into it, but this story is so cool. Like it's such a cool story that needs to be
yeah.
told. So seeing that vision and seeing how it affected Cyborg and how terrified he was, so cool.
Yeah, well, yeah, I actually do want to talk about that scene, but real quick, the whole Warner Bros. Thing with money, man, it fucking sucks because they obviously care way more about the money than the art of
I
it.
know.
Zack Snyder was originally supposed to introduce Green Lantern in this movie, like at the end, but they were like, fuck no. And it makes me think. Obviously, you guys know they're planning on making an HBO Max show for him, where I'm guessing Zack Snyder has nothing to do with him, and it almost makes me think that they were worried people would love his version of Green Lantern and people like the fans would have wanted him to be attached in some sort of way. And it's
Mhm.
like in their minds, you're like, you know what? No, we're kind of done with that Zack Snyder, and it's stupid, it really,
They
because I
clearly
mean,
wanted to suck all Zack Snyder out of any feeling of these
right? And
movies,
Zack Snyder at
obviously.
this point is the DCEU,
It's
Yeah,
just,
like without
easily.
him,
guys, to
yeah,
me, it's so weird because they put him in charge. Like, I get if like this was some
yeah,
guy that's like been making DC movies for like 20
It's
years, and
because of
then they wanted to come
BVS.
in and like start anew, and they're like, how do we get this old
Right.
guy out of here? But it's like, no, you hired this man like 4 or 5 years ago to helm all of these movies. And yeah, it's 100% what Bailey said. It's the poor reaction to BVS, and it's
Yeah.
them listening to the haters and not the people that liked it, and yada
Right.
Just
yada. We
think
talked
about
about that more in our last, a couple episodes ago. But
right, but think about it this way. If they would have done that with Thor, if we would
yeah,
so we got
Yeah.
2 not great Thor movies
Shit
and then
movies.
ended up with Ragnarok and the Thor that we get throughout the rest of the MCU. If they would have just gave up after that and let the character go, they didn't because
but
they know how pivotal and important that character is. So, in this movie, these characters are the most important characters in DC universe. Like the most important above all else characters.
yeah.
And they were like, "Well, if we can't do it all great, then we're stopping it after the next one." And that's
Right.
Nobody
such
Yeah.
else.
trash. That's such
Yeah.
trash.
It's such a poor work ethic, man, because it just shows like no matter what kind of vision this man had, that at the end of the day, money's more important. Like fuck the vision, right? And sometimes, like if you have a vision in mind, or if you have a story in mind that's gonna last 3 movies, sometimes like along the way, it's not gonna feel that great. But you need to trust like Zack Snyder. Even just look at his past shit. Like you always know there's gonna be uniqueness to it. You always know there's gonna be epicness to it, and you see it in these little additions in his cut. Like
Yeah.
it just certain scenes, even if they were the same scenes, even if it was the same plot, it just feels more epic. And that's gonna bring me back to yeah, the whole resurrection.
So
I was so
amazing.
anxious. Just yeah, after Cyborg has that vision, and then Aquaman's like, "This is a bad idea." I'm telling you guys, Batman like just fucking do it, you know. And
Yeah, that
it
whole
makes
scene
it like,
with them 2,
mhm,
with Aquaman and Batman, the
yeah,
way they were reacting, we heard Aquaman kinda say that in the other cut of the
and
movie,
yeah, original,
but
yeah,
it didn't really matter. You were just like, "Oh, he just thinks it's a bad idea because it's weird." But then you see, like, the way Batman's reacting to
yeah,
it, it's so like Batman doesn't believe he can do this without
mhm,
Superman. So he's saying,
yeah.
"Whatever it takes, we're
Yeah.
getting Superman back." And
They
I think
keep
that is
they
so cool.
And they kept switching back to Flash, like, "Okay, guys, I'm ready." And it's
Mhm.
just like it makes you that more anxious, and makes you care that
It
much
was
more
very
after you
anxious.
see, yeah, after you see the vision, right?
Yeah.
Like without the vision, you wouldn't have gotten those same
Yeah,
emotions.
without the
So it just
vision, without the vision
yeah,
Cyborg has, it's like they're just trying. Like Omar said so eloquently in our other review, like they're acting like they're jump starting a fucking car to bring
yeah,
Superman back. And in this, it's so much more. It's like, yeah, the act of
right,
what they're doing isn't particularly cool, but at the same time, like the implications and the context around it is way cooler and
It just
has
yeah,
gives
way
it
more. There's
meaning.
way more consequence. Like they let you know, like, first off, they're having visions of something bad gonna happen should they do it. And then they also just hammer home the point more of like, we don't know who Superman's gonna be when we get him back. Like, we
right,
don't know
Right.
what he's gonna be like. And so adding all that to it just makes all of their hesitation make more sense.
I just think it's one of those things where, yeah, it's the act of what they're doing to bring him back is almost kind of simple, but everything revolving around it, the story of to why they're getting to the point of
right,
doing this is so complex, but they don't even know it's how complex it is yet. It's
right.
only
Yeah.
it's like to come, but we won't know that until we get other movies, which we will not get. But or maybe
Yeah,
we'll get. But right now we could
who
have
knows?
never gotten like if this movie had never gotten released, we never would have known any of this.
Nope.
How crazy is that to think about?
Yeah, it's
Like
fucking wild.
none of this. So we finally get Superman back and all of that scene is the same, which again, I think that was one of the stronger scenes
Yeah.
in the other movie is like their whole fight with him, but they do it even better because they don't have Batman show up in a car and
Right.
be like, "I've got the secret weapon." Or he calls Alfred and he goes, "Send in the secret weapon." And I'm just
Yeah,
like,
dude,
"What?"
the fact that throughout the whole movie we see Lois visiting the site every
So
single
so
morning.
sweet
Oh
and
my
great.
god, why would you change anything about that? Why would you
Yeah.
make it seem like okay, Batman is the reason she comes, and that he's using her as a weapon to get
Mhm.
Clark to like come back? Like, fuck that. I mean, this is so much more like a Lois and Clark thing. This
Yeah.
Yeah.
this makes you care about like okay, Superman like he's on this fucking rage like, and then having like when he's approaching Bruce, he doesn't just go to him and fucking grab him by the fucking cheekbones,
Ugh,
right?
so
It's like
dumb.
the
Come
entire
here.
Justice League, like every character is like jumping in between, and they make it just like the build up to when he gets to Batman that much more like epic. It makes you that much more anxious. And honestly, I was a bit more anxious Just
When he
trying to
was
think.
about to kill Batman.
No. When he was about to like go towards him, like, are we gonna get that scene where he grabs him from the cheekbones? I
Oh.
hope Zach, is not gonna fuck us over like that.
I was
Please
a
don't
little
make me eat
anxious
my
about that
words,
too.
Zach.
Right.
I was anxious about that too because I was scared because this was playing out so similarly to the old one. I was like, oh, I hope
Yes.
we don't get the
Yeah.
Batman thing at the end where he makes the joke. But seeing Lois go through everything she goes through, like the mourning process she was going through, which already made her character so much stronger in this movie.
Yeah.
But you see her going, she was about to go to work, but she was going to this shrine for the last time, and she walks away, and then she sees the fight and she sees him in the sky and goes
Yeah.
to him. It's not like she was on board with being the secret weapon
No.
thing, and that's not what
Right.
her love and Clark's love would have been anyway. It was so dumb that they changed that, but I think that, and then also seeing Superman trying to kill Batman was
Dude, I
like a
love that. With the
crazy
Yeah.
heat and
good
everything.
scene.
That was really good.
And
That was
you could see almost it's not even fear, it was like despair in Batman's
Yeah.
eyes, because he was like, we need you, like, please don't do this because we
Yeah.
need you. And oh, it got me. I was like, that is what these characters are.
It was
and
a
that's what
way-
they mean to each other.
and it's a way cooler follow-up to just their whole conflict in BVS.
Absolutely.
Like, it's just
Mhm.
way cooler.
Exactly.
It's instead of making a joke about that movie, it's way more of
That's
after everything
another
they've been through
thing.
in that moment, it's Batman saying like, "Look, we
Right.
need you. Like, please don't do this. We need you." And
That's
I
the
don't know.
other thing that happened in this scene. It was very clear that Joss Whedon and Warner Brothers thought, oh, if we joke about how bad BVS they thought BVS
It's
They'll
gonna
love
was,
redeem.
that.
then it
Right.
would
They'll love
redeem it.
that.
And it's just
Yeah.
like, that's such bullshit. Like,
Yeah.
don't treat the fans of these kinds of characters that poorly, because it's
Yeah.
almost like a slap in the
That's
face
the
to
thing.
us.
Absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
like-
And
face-
Exactly. That's exactly
I
what
think
it is.
that's awful. So the fact that
Yeah.
this was redeemed, I love this scene. And then
Right.
we didn't even talk about, but I guess since we're on Lois, we should skip to that too, is when she has that scene with Martha that was originally at freaking what's it called,
Dude, this was
Daily
one,
Planet,
this was one of the ones that
in
I
like the break room.
Yeah, to me, I don't even get why you refilmed that. Like, even if you want to take the Martian Manhunter stuff we're about to get
They
to
wanted
out,
no sequel parts.
but even if you want to just take that part out, like the first half of that scene is almost the exact, like they say a lot of the same words. It's just they're in a cooler environment. They're clearly not being brought, like you can just see in their faces in the Whedon version that these actors have been brought back in to refilm this and are not happy
Yeah.
about it. Like, there's so much more heart in the same lines of dialogue they're delivering.
So much more hard.
There's not the fucking weird ass thirsty joke that was in the other one. Like, all that stuff is gone. It's more heartfelt. It makes more sense. It makes you care about the characters, and the acting's way better. It's way more of the characters that you knew from the last movie. So I just, to
Right.
me, this one blew my mind because on paper, I'm like, even if you're chopping this movie up the same way, why not just keep this scene? Chop up
why
the,
not
why'd
just keep
they
the scene
refilm
and
it?
not
That-
make it Martian Manhunter?
yeah, just like because you don't.
Like-
Yeah, if they wanted to take that out, then fine. Like, I don't know.
That's what
Just-
I don't get.
that
But
blows my
then
mind.
it is also cool that because I wasn't expecting it, and I'm sure a lot of other people were, but because I guess I'm the only one who didn't realize that they were going to show Martian Manhunter like that. But when it gets to the point where it's Martha and she walks out, and then it is Martian Manhunter, you're just like, oh, that's actually really cool. Like,
Yeah,
because
that blew
the
my mind. I wasn't expecting
Martian
that either.
people like them always pretend to be other people if they need to, kind of thing. And I
Right.
don't know. And
So-
he was clearly doing it to help Lois. So.
Right. So because I don't know a lot about Martian Manhunter, but that was right at once we got to the next chapter break and we were pausing in between each one and kind of talking it out a little bit. And you guys explained that the like Martian Manhunter is very much like a protector of like, is he a protector of Clark?
Yeah, that's
kind
what
of like
Omar
he.
was.
So
Like-
that was a take on him in Smallville.
Okay,
He
okay.
was sent by Jor-El or advised by Jor-El to just keep an eye on
Which
Clark.
to me
But,
that
I mean,
added
yeah,
so
no,
much
he-
more to that. So, like, I'm even glad you told me that because it made it even
Mhm.
cooler, and it also made sense that so he's kind of there knowing Superman's gone, but like just looking out for like he basically pretended to be Martha to go encourage Lois Lane to like get back to
Exactly.
work and don't keep wasting your life. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Cool,
Yeah.
cool stuff.
So-
It's so meaningful how it was done, and it also adds this character that's so pivotal and important to the Justice
Absolutely.
League in general.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And everyone knew he was supposed to be Martian Manhunter. So the fact that he finally,
was
like,
no
that
joke
poor
anymore.
actor finally got to get
Yeah.
his, like, day in the sun kind of thing. Because he had this filmed this whole
Can you
time and just
imagine in Man
was
of
the
Steel?
corporal in the other movie, and that was it.
Can you imagine they hire you in Man of Steel? Like, you're gonna play a corporal, but like, wink, wink. Like, we hired you, like we cast you because you could be you're gonna be Martian Manhunter one day, and it's just all this time
Yeah,
later.
like I would be
These
so
movies are dead in the
pissed.
water. Just like,
Crazy.
I guess that never happened. I'm just the
Ugh.
corporal.
Right, but that's the thing. So we eventually see that, and all the stuff with Martha, and I guess granted it makes it to where Martha doesn't have as much of a intimate moment with Lois, but at the same time, when Clark comes back, you
Yeah.
still get that scene with them connecting, and I
Yes.
still think
Right.
that's enough. I
It
thought that
definitely
was
is.
fine
Absolutely.
because this
Right,
isn't
right.
about like it's not about just Superman's character and his relationships anymore. It's
Yeah.
about like the whole team.
I
So
also
Yeah.
real quick while we're still on this kind of scene of Superman coming back, I wanted to say it's not exactly the same at all, but the way that Superman and Batman interact when Superman's kind of coming at him and Batman's blocking it or whatever, and he's just kind of pleading with him. I like how this is done so much more than I like the Martha moment in BVS. Obviously, it's
yeah.
different, but I
Oh,
feel
totally.
like less is more with this rather than in BVS where they had to hang on the fact that, like, oh, our parents have the same names. Why did you say that name? All that. I feel like in this scene, the two of them were just purely acting like great.
Mhm.
And like you could see it just in these characters' eyes that I don't know, like it felt like he was pleading with him in a way that just made sense. Like they didn't need to over explain all this stuff kind of like they did in BVS to me personally. I know some
Right.
people like that scene, but to me it just worked and kind of proved kind of the way I wish that would have played out in BVS. Like I never have a problem with them connecting in that moment. I more have a problem with the fact that it had to be our parents have this or our moms have the same name. Whereas in this, I feel like just so much more minimalistic was cool in a
Mhm.
way. It just made me think about how it almost made me the BVS stuff bother me less because it just added more context to
Yeah.
them relating to each other, which I think is what that scene was trying to do in BVS, just overdid it for me. So
I
seeing
agree with
that
you.
play out like this, just it made me happy. Kind of how I was talking about what I want this movie to do is elevate the other ones. I feel like that was a good example of how it really did, and I'm glad we got that. Like that's one of the scenes that stood out to me in particular. I was like, fuck yeah, like this is good
I
shit
agree
right
with
here.
you. I think that's two more closer to take on them. Like it felt more comic bookish
Yeah,
to their like how their actual relationship is. Just because Superman and Batman are these two characters that have always had respect for each other. They don't agree with each other. Batman,
They do
in
things
his
very
mind, he thinks
differently.
yeah,
he thinks maybe Superman is a bit either too soft or he follows order. Like he's a I mean, however you want to
He's a
explain it, and then
soldier almost.
right, and then Superman is on the complete other end of it. He thinks Batman will do whatever it takes to, have the job done, but he's not the most ethical or not the most whatever. But at the end of the day, like I said, both of those characters always
They
have
respect each
respect for
other
each other, and you definitely get that vibe in this movie than you did in BVS.
yes,
So I
completely.
100% agree
And that's
with
the
what you just
thing.
said.
When it gets to the point where we finally see Superman, like he talks to his mom and he
Yeah.
talks to Lois and he says the whole like they brought me back for a reason. I thought that
Yes.
part was so emotional because he's finally with the two people he loves most in the
Yes.
it's
world.
like I have
And
to go do it.
His
he's
mom
like
and Lois, yeah, and then following that up with Jarrell and Jonathan. I
and
mean,
them talking
beautiful.
like
Yeah.
simultaneously. Oh, it was so beautifully
Fucking
done.
yeah, well
And
done.
then you get the shot where he finally gets the black suit and he just goes into the sky and it's just this beautifully powerful moment.
Yeah.
That shot, how could you take that shot out of a movie? How?
Yeah,
I
that
don't
that
understand
makes
And
it.
no
that's
sense.
such a Superman thing. That's what sucks. Like in every Superman, like even the older ones, it's always him. Yeah, sure, like flying over the planet or whatever,
Mhm.
flying in circles. But that's always like that was a huge thing that
Mhm.
they just took out, and it just like it sucks, man.
Just the whole thing, the black suit in general being taken
Yeah, the
out.
Yeah.
black
It's
suit being
just
gone is just weird.
it
It
makes
really
no
I
is.
actually have
sense that
questions
they
about the
were so
black suit
against that.
because like at the end
Give
of
it
the
to me.
movie, when he's like running off and he
He
takes
has the
off his
black one
shirt
again.
and it's
Yeah.
like the black suit. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure
You
how I
didn't
feel
know how you
about that.
feel
I'll
about
be
that?
honest. Yeah, I don't know.
So
I honestly
explain to
was a
me.
little questioning that as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like, what does the black suit mean in any Superman lore that you know, Omar? Because I don't know. Like,
So okay, so the black suit is what they wear on his own planet, right?
okay, right,
That's exactly like how his dad was wearing the black suit, right?
okay,
I don't know where the hell he gets the blue and red suit. Honestly, in the comics, his mom makes him the suit.
okay,
Obviously, in the Snyder universe or whatever, that's not the thing. The suit
Yeah.
just presented to him in red and blue for some reason. I mean, they don't really explain that. I don't know how he gets that. That's not like a House of L thing. Like that's not their colors
I
on his
think,
home
yeah, it
planet.
was more supposed to be like how America is what you think of when you think of a lot
Probably
of
so.
things.
Probably so. And
So
then the
it's the same
whole
with Captain America. Like he's
Hmm.
Captain America, and this is like our version, the DC
right.
version of Captain America,
And I
almost.
guess you could just like use your imagination and think, okay, they heavily emphasize like alien technology in this movie, and maybe just like the ship knew to make it those colors or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like it
Um,
follows whatever home place he's on is like
exactly.
to make him fit in kind of thing
Right. So
almost.
I'm thinking maybe like this take where he's like, out and about in the black suit. Maybe he comes back and he's more Kal-El than he is Clark Kent. And maybe
Mm.
they focus a bit more on that in his story. Maybe they had plans for like a Man of Steel 2, like a proper Man of Steel 2 or Man of Steel 3, where he struggles with that, like
Oh,
his
Yeah.
his alien side versus human side. And
okay.
eventually he starts leaning back towards his human side. That's just my take because yeah, the black suit is definitely more of a Krypton thing, you
It's
know?
also one of those things where it's like definitely done, but I felt like it was a one-off kind of thing. Like he gets the black suit, but that doesn't mean he's changing to only be black suit almost said Batman, black suit Superman.
Superman.
Like he's gonna be Superman no matter what. So
Yeah,
I
so
almost took it that
So is
way.
that why
okay,
y'all? Because admittedly, I didn't think too much of him still having the black suit, other than like, oh, that's cool. So why?
uh,
What's y'all's hesitation? Is it just because knowing? Is that go into like thinking
Because
like, well, what are
Superman's
they ever gonna do
back.
with this? Or is
Well,
it like
no,
just
I
weird
think
that he still has it?
I more myself personally took it as like this was this moment in his life. Like he came back, he's like, I'm gonna prove to everyone like this is where I'm from, but I'm still me. And so at the end, when he's back to being like normal Clark in the world again, I expected it more just to be like, this is Superman and I'm back. And so they would be the blue
mm,
and red. I'm not mad at it. Like I'm okay with it still. I just was kind of surprised he was still in it, I guess I should say. But
Okay.
yeah, I was
I could be
surprised.
completely wrong. So,
Yeah. I was surprised, and also I guess yeah, I have just a bit more of a connection to Superman, just growing up and just watching all
yeah,
that
you
shit
definitely
and
do.
reading comic books and everything. And to me, it just almost seems like they were kind of trying to set something up to where yeah,
Okay.
like the next movie,
Yeah.
it's solely about Superman, and they're because I know like Superman has always struggled with his alien side versus his human side. And even numerous times in Smallville, he completely shuts off his human side and he's a hero, but he's doing things, as Superman, and that like that human side of him is just completely gone. Like
Mhm.
he's doing heroic shit on a large scale. It's not anymore of the, like that. Okay, he's a hometown hero, whatever, anything like that, or like he's America's hero. It's more on like a large scale, like planet versus planet, universe versus universe.
Okay.
So I'm not
Okay.
sure if
Mhm.
that's maybe what they were setting up. And also, I want to bring up the scene where you open, not the scene, yeah, sorry, the scene that happens, but when you open up the door for Hendrix and you kind of missed it,
Yeah.
that vision, he was wearing the black suit, but you guys know
Yeah.
how at the end of the movie, we see him in the red suit when he's kind of like attacking them.
Yeah.
Um, my guess is he keeps the black suit for a while, and that stuff happens how it happens, and you know how he's holding Batman's head or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that stuff happens, but then the blue and red suit, that's obviously a whole nother time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that
Cuz
make
like
sense? That's my
slate yeah,
guess.
no, it is a different time. And I think it's one of like that first vision could have been the beginning of all of it. But then the second vision
Yes.
is like what it's going to be like when they're trying to stop it all. Like it goes on for years kind of thing.
Mhm.
So like the
Yeah.
first vision's the
Oh,
beginning and the
yes.
last vision's the
Yeah, yeah,
end.
yeah. I actually
Yeah,
just
cuz
remembered.
yeah, it
Yeah.
goes on for years. So cuz if you
You after
watch
we hop off,
oh dude,
fucking go read. Go
dude,
read
I'm
it.
going to read
I just
it.
triggered something. Yeah, yeah. I saw
But
Matthew smile too, so that kind of
Yeah.
triggered it.
speaking of too, so we haven't talked yet, but so we finally get Darkseid in this movie, which again, so thrilled with that. I know my brother Mike, he was watching it with us. He was very much hoping we would get like a bunch of Darkseid. I knew we wouldn't, but he was disappointed because in the battle scene in the beginning, when
Yeah.
you like get introduced to Darkseid, he's like Darkseid kills like two people and then gets immediately like defeated. And I was like, you know what, that is kind of true. Like they didn't
Yeah.
show off how powerful Darkseid is yet, but I also don't think they need to because
Right.
Darkseid has so many freaking minions that he just sends out to do everything for him and then he
Mhm.
conquers everything because he's that strong and powerful and people
Mhm.
worship him because he's a god. So I don't know. The stuff we got where he finally like shows up because Steppenwolf has been like talking to his minion this whole time, but then I can't remember his name. It starts with a D. But then finally it gets to the point where
Decide.
Darkseid,
Facade.
Desaad, yeah,
Yeah.
you're
I
right.
always thought he was just saying dark side weird. And I was like, oh, this is a
No,
different
But
no.
person.
Darkseid finally shows up, and I was like, all that scene that we got with him and the stuff at the end that we're about to talk about is like pivotal to the point where I think it's just enough because again, if you think about it in the sense of this was not supposed to be Darkseid's movie, the next two
Right.
movies would be Darkseid movie. It's all you needed because
Yep.
Darkseid is so powerful. You can't have him come this early. It would
No,
just
you
like this
definitely.
would
Yeah.
have to just be one movie. So
Right.
it's just so much goes into it, but I'm glad we finally got to see him and like hear him talk and stuff. I
Yeah.
liked that
I
a lot.
think you and I had more realistic expectations in terms of Darkseid. I think everyone else that didn't have as realistic expectations didn't maybe keep in mind that okay, like no, I'm sorry. They kept in mind that okay, obviously we're not getting any more movies after this. This is it. So we're obviously getting Darkseid. Obviously, some epic battle is going to happen at the end. Darkseid is going to go batshit crazy, and then that's it. We're not getting any more Darkseid. We're not getting any more Justice League. This is it for this universe. I think people had that in mind.
Yeah.
This
Um,
I mean,
universe is so complex. How could you even do
well,
that?
so
Like
so
how?
that was me.
I'm sorry, brother.
Given so to me, it's the fact that yes, knowing that this was it, like 99%, I'm gonna go on record and say I don't think they're ever gonna make another one. We'll talk about that more at the end, but like I really strongly was like because they're showing us Darkseid in the trailers, because Zack Snyder's talking up Darkseid, because we know that this movie got announced, like they shot this forever ago, but they told us they were doing this almost a year ago, and he's had a year to do things, and they spent $70 million. Like putting together all those clues, I thought the end of this movie is where things are really going to diverge, right? Where things are going to change from the original cut. Because they're setting up Darkseid, they got to have a reason for it. I was like, even if it ends up feeling a little rushed and weird and whatever, I thought that Darkseid was going to be more of the villain of this movie. Naive, obviously. Look at me now, guys. I'm laughing at myself.
What a
But
joke.
that's just kind of what I thought. And I think you guys knowing more about it definitely kept your expectations a little more realistic.
Mhm.
So I wish that I had done that too.
Well,
'Cause-
and
So
that's the
sorry,
thing
man.
because we finally get to the last battle, and first of all, the fact that they cut everything out with that family and like the
Thank
town that
God.
they were in,
I'm
Thank
thank the
sorry. They seem like
Lord.
a nice
Why was
family,
that
but come
even?
on, this is
Why
just
was that even
pointless.
done? Like, why did it's perfect? Like, why did that whole like town that they were doing this in need to be populated? Like, it seemed
because
like
Joss
this
Whedon
was
had to put his
just
touch on it.
but
Sad
that and
too.
that's
That's
the
why.
stupid
Put
thing.
his
It
little
just took
fucking
so much away from it. Like, why did we need to
Yeah.
focus on this family? It really, literally made no sense. So the fact that that was gone, so happy about that. We get to this
Yeah.
place. It finally feels like a good big end battle. Like
Hmm.
they're finally teaming up. They're going to do this. Batman's doing real cool shit. Wonder Woman's doing real cool shit. Flash is, Cyborg is, Aquaman. Like they're all have their own cool parts. The cool shit. The shit team. I'm kidding.
Oh my
I like
god.
went completely off the deep end there. But it all worked so well and it wasn't red. It was like nighttime,
Yeah.
which
Yeah, it
is
just looked
normal.
normal. It's like, okay. It's probably how the
But
scene was meant to look.
it was so great and we get them fighting and that's again that this is another scene where I thought Wonder Woman killed. I think she did wonderful. I think all her
Hmm.
action scenes, everything she was doing was so cool and so badass. So I
Agreed.
think they did so well with the choreography in this whole last fight scene. And then you get the stuff with Flash and how
Hmm.
crazy is that whole scene with him where he's struggling and working so hard to do this part that we didn't even know. I didn't even remember that Flash was involved in this part. Was he
Oh, he wasn't.
originally?
No, he was pushing
I
that
Absolutely
didn't
not.
fucking
think
truck.
so.
Fuck no.
Oh yeah, he was pushing a damn
Yeah.
truck.
No, no,
Oh
no.
my
This is a
god, I
completely
forgot.
different take,
Yeah.
dude.
And it
Well,
was
yeah,
so
because
much better. So
yeah,
much better.
yeah, because none of that happened where they basically
The thing
fail for
is,
a little bit. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
in
That
the in
wasn't.
the in the original cut, they had him. That was his thing at the end, and then they completely took that away from him by having Superman pick up a whole fucking building and moving it
Yeah, that
Oh,
like
too.
within seconds.
yeah,
Yeah.
because all the stuff
So
with
I mean, they
Superman
they
in
made
this
him seem
part's
like a
so good
bitch, man.
too. They did.
Yeah.
They made these heroes feel like heroes, and you get the whole part where Steppenwolf finally beats all of them. The boxes merge, and we see a literal portal to Darkseid,
Yeah.
and you see him standing there with
That
Desaad
was
and Granny
badass.
Goodness, and I
Yeah.
was just like,
Mhm.
literally, when we see Granny Goodness for the first time, I was like, Granny!
She goes,
Dude, yeah, I
Granny!
jumped.
I like yelled it. I was so excited.
We also
'Cause I
got to
didn't.
say, Superman's entrance right before all this
Oh
was
my god,
Oh my
badass as
god, it
hell.
was
I'm not
so
So
impressed.
cool. He just like freaking axes his shoulder and nothing happens, and he just goes, "I'm not
Just-
impressed." And I'm
yeah,
like, that is Henry Cavill's so good at stuff like
Yeah.
that.
yeah.
I love that. And so you see the team finally being a team, which is what we've
Yep.
been waiting this 4 hours for, is to see them being one unit working really well together, not all working separately. Like they're all working and doing something to help each other, but to also save this world kind of thing. And that's what this entire movie needed. It needed some type of all these visions that they keep seeing leading to this apocalypse literally is going to need a team to save it, and we finally get that
Mhm.
happening. To whereas the end of the last movie, I don't even remember. I was like, I didn't even feel scared at all. Like
Yeah, I mean,
no sense of fear,
right.
no care in the world
There's
as
no
to what was
stakes
gonna
in the
happen.
other cut.
This family
Exactly.
made it. They're gone. That building's gone. Those people are safe. So obviously everything's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we get that whole scene. Superman fighting, kicking ass, like made Steppenwolf like look like a little child.
hmm
It's beautiful. And then we see Darkseid. And then we see Wonder Woman chop off Steppenwolf's head. How
Love it.
That
freaking
was
awesome is all of
that
that?
was
love it.
fucking cool.
That whole last fight scene meant so much
Yeah.
more to me.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it did. I'd be lying if I said again, and I already brought it up. I was like, I wanted things to really like diverge at this part of the movie, and so they didn't. And I think this is the only part where I started to feel a little bit disappointed, just a
Okay.
little bit, because I just wanted more to change at the end.
Yeah.
Granted,
I guess I get that.
it's still 100, like a literal 100% better than how it
Mhm.
was in Whedon's cut. Like, it's the same stuff, and that was my expectation. So I'm willing to like, take that, but then come back and still say like, this is so much better. It's still all really, really cool, and it's still one of those things where the bias is setting in of having already seen a weird version of this movie twice before this. You know what I mean? If I would go into this is my first time seeing any of this, then it would have felt differently. So
Yeah.
it's a complaint. It's a minor complaint, but it's me checking that at the door and being okay with it
Well, and
because I
that's the
just get
thing.
that, it was going to be like this. And imagine coming up with something this grand and epic, right? And again, I'm not saying it's perfect, but you come up with this whole vision for this movie, you film all of it, you do all of it, and then the world is shown a chopped up version of it 2 years before you ever get to. Like, that
Right.
is just something
Right.
that we can't ever unsee that. Like,
Yeah.
that's why I give Zack Snyder credit and the benefit of the doubt
Yeah.
and all of the above, because this is just a weird situation from start to finish. Mentally, we'll never know what it would have been like to see this before ever seeing
Right.
that weird version of it. So
And
I'm okay with
honestly-
it. I wanted more, but I'm okay with this.
Honestly, I
100%.
get what you're saying too, because they do this whole thing. Like Zack Snyder very clearly was not going to wrap this up. Like he
Yes.
was like, even though I'm not having my sequels, I don't care. I'm putting this out the
Yes.
way I intended it to be put out.
Literally.
And so he brings up anti-life equation, which is a huge
Dude,
part of
holy
everything
shit,
with
yeah.
Darkseid. Like all of that is leading up to all these things that these visions are happening. And honestly, to wrap all this up, because like we've been talking about the team so much, but we can talk about that last after credit scene. We're getting all the stuff
Oof.
that happened. You get all the Slade stuff, which is super cool. I love that whole scene still. Slade joining, and then you get the dream nightmare / vision that Batman has, and all of a sudden Slade's on his team, and you have all of them in hiding from someone. The world's over. The apocalypse came. They lost, and then you get the scene with the Joker, and he talks about everything that happened with Robin and his mom and his dad. And that scene, which I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about the Jared Leto Joker, was so blown away by what we got. I adored it. I thought it was perfectly done.
hmm
And that scene alone made me want more for this. Like, I wanted more movies so bad because look
Yeah.
at the world he built. Look at how wonderfully he built this world.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me that this happened and we can't ever get anything else out of it. And so
That's what it is
I'm
for me, man.
heartbroken, but I also I adored this Snyder cut. I've adored the Snyder cut. That's
Yeah.
what I'm going to say.
No, I mean that last scene, I mean all of the epilogue is crazy stuff happening, but for that to be where the nightmare stuff slotted in was another disappointing thing for me, only because
Yeah.
it's all set up for something that we're never going to get. And I think that's what I said on our Justice League episode last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever we did it, was that what I really wanted out of this movie was for it to be awesome and cool and everything. But what I really didn't want was for it to end. Like, I knew it was going to have a cliffhanger, but I didn't want so much of it to feel like stuff that was still to come that we're never going to get. And unfortunately, that's what so much of this is. And again, that's not me knocking the movie, because I love this stuff. This is stuff I would like. If we saw
We're
this
just
in
not getting
theaters
it.
and we were getting part 2 next year, I would be over the
Absolutely.
moon. Like, I would
Right.
be
Right.
Infinity War level, like, excited for this
Yeah.
stuff. But it's such a weird place to be in, knowing that this is all set up for something that just got so fucked over and we're never going to get now. Like, that sucks. Like, we're not going to sit here and explain to you, Bailey, because I want you to go read everything.
Yeah.
But
I am the second we get off of this.
it was supposed to be 5 movies, all of this. Like, from Man of Steel till the end, it was supposed to be 5. So this was literally supposed to be the middle point. There's 2 more, like, huge chapters of stuff that clearly Zack Snyder does not expect to ever do it, because he's just went online and told everybody the plot of what's going to happen.
Exactly.
And it's awesome. Like, it's really interesting stuff, and it's really cool. And people just would not let this stuff build to it. And it sucks.
Yeah.
And I get 4 hours is a long time. I get 3 hours for BVS was a long time. I get all of this is long and drawn out and not considered good filmmaking. I get it. But there's room. The world, there's so many movies out there. There's so much shit that we get to consume. There's room for stuff to be different than what, like, the majority of people want, I think.
Right.
I think people did not let this man breathe and do his thing. And granted, there was other stuff involved, but it's such a bummer to look at this now, because that epilogue was one of the coolest parts of this whole movie.
It was so cool.
And it sets up things that would have been really cool. And even the stuff of this movie that felt like it fell a little flat for me, like, would be so much cooler if there was more coming. If this was just the first chapter of Justice League and the third chapter of this whole thing, like, if I knew more was coming, like, all of this wouldn't have the weight that it had to feel of being like, this is it. This is all you're ever going to get. So
Right.
hopefully these 4 hours,
And
every second is worth it. And that's where the disappointment comes in,
That's
because
what's
it's
proven,
not
though.
happening.
It's proven Zack Snyder clearly knew what he was doing, and
Yeah.
nobody trusted him enough to let him continue
Yeah.
to do it. And that's what's so sad. That's, like, the message that you get out of this. And I'm so grateful and thankful that we got to enjoy this together and, like, have this, because we could have never had it, and DC fans could have gone forever not thinking that this could have ever been something that would happen. And even though it might not, at least we knew that someone out there was trying. So
Right.
I'm, like, thankful for that. But
I mean, dude, absolutely thankful, appreciative. I mean, Zack Snyder went against all odds. He took the backlash from BVS. He continued with his vision, anyways. Yeah, obviously, he not only straight to his true to his vision, but he believed in himself. He believed in the people he was working with.
yeah, that
Because I
too.
mean, he could have,
He believed in
dude,
the
any director in
actors
his place
fully.
could have straight up, like, yeah, obviously made excuses, but they could have they could have also blamed the actors. They could have blamed just all types of people if he really wanted to. But no, he believed in who he was working with, and he chose people specifically for those roles, and he went with it, and
Yeah,
he
and clearly
created
they
this
believed in him
entire
too.
fucking universe with a trilogy that, I mean, my god, honestly, just
I
epic,
know.
so
So honestly, we can wrap up, because I know we've been talking about this for, like, ever, but we could literally have a whole other podcast about this, and maybe we will. Honestly,
I was going to
Maybe we
say,
will.
I don't know what's going to happen, but maybe after Bailey reads some of this, because all I'll
Yeah,
say is
we should definitely
what
do.
happens next is extremely interesting. Like, it's
Mhm.
the plan outline for what was going to go on is really fucking cool.
Mhm.
And so I don't know, like, hey, if you want it,
We should
leave a
definitely- we
comment.
should
Leave a
definitely.
comment and say if you want us to talk
Yeah.
about the other stuff.
Because we will get back on and we'll talk about all
Yeah.
of what could have happened.
Guys,
and
Mhm.
We get so few comments. We're at the point where if you comment and tell us to do something, we will probably do it.
we will literally do
Especially
it.
this one, we're already halfway across the fence wanting to. But that would be a really interesting conversation to
think so,
talk it out
too.
with you guys,
Agreed.
because everything coming after that is just it
Mind-blowing.
would have been really, really fucking cool.
Yeah.
So all in all, I think we can all honestly say, yay Zack Snyder, yay the Snyder Cut. This is awesome. Screw Warner Brothers and Joss Whedon. Even
Yeah,
though maybe
fuck 'em.
if it's not y'all's fault, sorry, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm too nice to say.
I also
screw y'all,
want,
That's
like, for my final thought too on this, I want to leave it at, like, for everything I said about just being disappointed that this is like a big cliffhanger thing that we don't get to see through. It's still light years better than having the first two movies and then having like this fucking chopped up ending to it that doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
I would way rather
Yeah,
this
absolutely.
that is like the third waypoint the way it was supposed to be. And even if we don't get the rest of it, which I don't think we're going to, I'm just glad we got, even if it's just stuck out, at least it's in the ether. It's like what would have
Right.
happened next instead of like, oh, you remember those first two movies and then just like it went to total shit. Like
Right.
to me, this is still better than that. And just props to Zack Snyder for fucking staying strong and making this thing despite,
Exactly.
hate and tragedy and loss and all that stuff. Like, I don't know. I'm just
Absolutely.
really glad to see that this came out. And I think a lot of everybody that wanted this movie, I think the majority of them are going to be happy with it.
I
Yeah.
agree. So
Yeah.
I think that's a great note to end this on. But I think we all will say that this was great and this was such a fun experience. And if y'all had a fun experience with it or even didn't, let us know and we can all talk about it together. But
And
Yeah.
please
I
let us
will
know in the
say-
comments. Yeah, if you like anything you have about this movie, just talk about it. We'd love
Exactly.
to like
I
reply
will
to you and talk
say-
about it.
Don't forget to like and subscribe and do all that jazz on all of our shit. You can go listen to the beginning of this episode for all of it again if you would like to. But you can also follow us on our social medias at Again Press on Twitter and at Press Play Again on Instagram. And we're gonna post fun stuff and updates on like what we're gonna be doing and all that jazz. You know.
Ooh, all that jazz.
Don't
Jazz,
forget
baby.
Tuesday. Coming up this Tuesday, we have our Falcon and Winter Soldier discussion episode. Those are going to be weekly again, just like we did with WandaVision. That'll be 10 a.m. sharp. So be there, be square. And like always, stay super.